We're here with Dr. David Wyss, a special guest of the Salt Lake Chamber, the chief economist for Standard & Poor's. Appreciate your time. A couple questions for you today. Number one, you said this morning that you believe the recession is over, and I'm just interested in what makes you say that, and what are the indicators that make you declare the recession to be over?
Well, the end of a recession is usually indicated by things stop going bad, and that's sort of where we are now. Housing is stabilizing. We're starting to see some increase in sales. Prices have been going up for a few months. Consumer seems to be getting his nerve back. We saw pretty decent Christmas sales, better than we were expecting going into the season. We've seen a big inventory reduction. That helps. Financial markets are getting back to normal. All of that suggests the worst is over. We're certainly not back to normal yet, but we've hit bottom.
Okay. You mentioned that we had such a rapid decline when we hit about the third quarter of 2007, somewhere in there. Fourth quarter. Is there anything that makes you think that the climb out of this recession will be slower than the decline?
Well, I'm expecting a very slow recovery. Downturns are always faster than upturns. It's easier to fall than to rise. The climb is going to be slowed this time, though, because you've got a lot of imbalances out there in the economy that still need to be fixed. There's still too much debt being held by individuals, by households. We have a huge government deficit. We've still got a big international deficit. A lot of this stuff has got to be fixed, and fixing it creates a headwind that's going to make growth more difficult.
Are there benefits to a slow recovery?
I don't know if you can really look for many silver linings there. Generally, I'd like to get back quicker. There is some evidence, though, that slow recoveries do tend to last longer. So there's always a risk that if you bounce back too quickly, you sort of build up too much air underneath you and you fall back down. So slow recovery, the tortoise may be right. Slow and steady wins the race.
Another interesting point you made earlier this morning at the Utah Economic Forum is that you don't see the U.S. dollar remaining as the main currency, the main backup currency for the world 15, 20 years down the road. Can you tell me a little bit more about that, and why is maybe a weaker U.S. dollar a good thing for America?
Well, for one thing, I do think the dollar will remain the main currency. It's just not going to be the only reserve currency the way it has been for the last few years. It's really a return to more the way things were in the 80s, where people, foreign central banks, foreign governments, maintained a mix of reserves in dollars and European currencies and Japanese currencies. I think they'll go back to that because they're nervous about having all their assets tied up in dollars, especially if the dollar is going down, which it is right now, or has been. In the longer run, a weak dollar has a lot of good things for the U.S. It means our goods are more competitive. Our prices are lower overseas. We can export more. Imports become more expensive, which is a bad thing because it means I'm going to be paying more for my shirts. But it's a good thing because it means maybe we can start producing some of the shirts here instead of in Malaysia. So it's good for jobs. It's bad for the cost of living, and definitely bad for that summer vacation to Paris.
Is there for the average American consumer, is there reason for optimism? Is this a time to be optimistic, or is it still a time to be cautiously optimistic? How would you?
I think cautious optimism is the right answer right now. There's still a lot of things that can go wrong. It's a fragile recovery. I want people to be out there saving money. I don't want people out there living beyond their means, because that'll just set up the problems for the next recession. So you want people to be cautious. You want them to be careful, but we want them to go out and spend some money